When it comes to high-level mixed martial arts, winning is rarely easy. Yet, over the years, we have seen a handful of talented fighters put together impressive undefeated streaks. Of course, history has shown that sooner or later, everyone's O must go. While some fighters eventually won the title even after suffering a loss, others would fall out of contention entirely. With that in mind, we've decided to take a look at 10 MMA superstars who remained unbeaten for an extended period, before ultimately losing to the reigning UFC champion. As always, if you guys enjoy this video, then please be sure to let me know by leaving a like and subscribing to our channel. Now, without further ado, and ranked in no particular order, let's take a closer look at some of the sport's most impressive winning streaks, as well as the champions that ultimately ended them. Number 10. Darren Till. Liverpool's Darren Till was a blue-chip prospect with a knack for putting his opponents to sleep, with the hard-hitting Englishman sporting an impressive 12-0 record prior to his UFC debut in 2015. Till wasted little time making his presence felt and continued his winning ways in the world's most recognised MMA promotion. Following victories over stars like Donald Cowboy Cerrone and Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, the UFC brass decided that the 25-year-old was ready for a shot at Tyron the Chosen One Woodley, and with that, the welterweight title. Despite entering the fight with a stellar 17-0-1 record, Woodley proved to be too much too soon for the Liverpool native, with the Chosen One able to capitalise on a knockdown and eventually secure a fight-ending choke late into the second round. Since suffering his first loss to Woodley at UFC 228, Till has gone 1-2 inside the octagon, and as of right now, his record currently stands at 18-3-1. Number 9. Daniel Cormier. Suffering one's first loss is never easy. Of course, it's even worse when the man who ends your undefeated streak also happens to be your most hated rival. Just ask Daniel Cormier. As a former Olympic wrestler, Cormier used his elite grappling skills to get past far more experienced opponents early in his career. In 2012, DC put the MMA world on notice by defeating former UFC champion Josh Barnett as he won the Strikeforce Heavyweight Grand Prix tournament. By the time the UFC absorbed Strikeforce in 2013, Cormier was sporting a flawless 11-0 record. DC even defeated legends like Frank Mir and Dan Henderson on his way to earning a shot at John Jones and the UFC light heavyweight strap. The rivalry between Jones and Cormier was so intense that the two men would even end up brawling at a pre-fight press conference. By the time they finally met at UFC 182, DC entered the contest with a 15-0 record. Despite a solid effort from the Olympian, Jones managed to earn a hard-fought decision victory to retain the title and remove his rival from the ranks of the unbeaten. Despite the setback, Cormier would eventually go on to capture both the UFC light heavyweight and heavyweight championships, before his eventual retirement in August of 2020. Number 8. Shane Carwin. In his prime, heavyweight knockout artist Shane Carwin was one of the scariest men to ever set foot inside a UFC cage. The big man out of Colorado was known for putting fighters away in very short order. Carwin not only won his first 12 professional fights, but also finished each opponent in the very first round. Following first-round knockout victories over Gabriel Gonzaga and Frank Mir, Carwin managed to capture the interim UFC heavyweight championship. Winning the interim title meant that the undefeated heavyweight had a date with the undisputed champ, who happened to be Brock Lesnar. And that date turned out to be July 3rd, 2010 at UFC 116. The highly anticipated showdown would feature one of the greatest comebacks in UFC history. During the opening round, Carwin absolutely pummeled Lesnar and nearly put him away. However, the WWE star somehow survived the initial onslaught and managed to submit an exhausted Carwin in the second round. Shane Carwin would fight just once more in the UFC before retiring from the sport in 2013 due to a series of injuries. Number 7. Brian Ortega. Brian Ortega is a talented grappler who managed to remain unbeaten for nearly 8 years. Ortega's world-class jiu-jitsu allowed him to pick up submission victories over big names like Cub Swanson and Renato Moicano. At UFC 222, he improved his record to 14-0-1 after a shocking KO win over former champ Frankie Edgar. With his undefeated record combined with the Edgar win, Brian Ortega had more than made his case for a featherweight title shot against Max Holloway. So, in December of 2018 at UFC 231, Holloway and Ortega finally met in the centre of the octagon. As compelling as the contest was on paper, the fight itself was a one-sided affair, with Holloway managing to keep the fight standing and putting on a striking clinic. Then, following the fourth round coming to a close, the ringside physician mercifully called a stop to the contest, in turn making Holloway the winner via TKO. and since then, Brian Ortega is yet to compete, but is soon expected to make his long-awaited return on October the 18th. Number 6. Henry Cejudo. Henry the Messenger Cejudo is a former Olympic wrestler who captured the gold at the 2008 Games in Beijing. Cejudo is a naturally gifted athlete with an incredible wrestling pedigree. As such, his professional MMA career got off to a scorching start. The talented grappler defeated his first 10 opponents in impressive fashion, before eventually earning his shot at the flyweight belt. In 2016, flyweight champ Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson was in need of a worthy opponent, and the undefeated Messenger seemed to fit the bill. The two collided for the first time at UFC 197. That evening, Cejudo's undefeated streak came to an abrupt end, with Johnson utilising a series of vicious knees to earn a first-round TKO victory. While Johnson may have got the upper hand in their initial encounter, the two would meet again roughly a year and a half later at UFC 227. This time around, Cejudo managed to avenge his loss by winning a hard-fought split decision victory, and in turn became the new UFC flyweight champion. The Messenger would go on to capture the UFC bantamweight title as well, making him one of only a handful of fighters to hold 2 UFC titles in multiple weight classes. Number 5. Dominic Reyes. A standout college football player from Stony Brook University, Dominic the Devastator Reyes made the transition to MMA in 2013 and turned pro the following year. The hard-hitting light heavyweight went on an impressive run, defeating folks like Ovin St. Preux, Volkan Ozdemir and even former middleweight champ Chris Weidman. With a 12-0 professional record, the Devastator became the next man in line to face longtime light heavyweight title holder John Jones. Despite the fact he was a sizable underdog, Reyes took Jones to the limit at UFC 247, with some pundits even scoring the fight in the challenger's favour. However, the judges that evening awarded Jones the victory via unanimous decision. At UFC 253, Reyes would be granted another shot at the newly vacated title, but would end up suffering a second-round TKO loss to the current champ Jan Blachowicz. Number 4. Chad Mendes. One of the most successful fighters Uriah Faber's Team Alpha Male has ever produced, Chad Money Mendes had a remarkable MMA career. The California native is a former NCAA Division I wrestler who grappled his way to a perfect 11-0 record, and in turn a title shot against featherweight king Jose Aldo at UFC 142. While it took Mendes almost 3 years to put together his impressive win streak, it would take Aldo just 4 minutes and 59 seconds to end it with a big knee that sent Money crashing to the canvas. Chad Mendes would eventually climb back up the ranks and earn a second shot at Aldo at UFC 179. And while the contest would earn Fight of the Year honours, it was once again the Brazilian who emerged the victor. Following a TKO loss to Alexander Volkanovski in December of 2018, Chad Mendes would retire from the sport with a professional record that stands at 18-5. Number 3. BJ Penn. Though it wasn't as lengthy as some of the other winning streaks we've discussed, the prodigy BJ Penn began his legendary career with a perfect 3-0 record. Penn's impressive start helped him to earn a fight with Jens Pulver, who happened to be the reigning UFC lightweight champion. The two would square off for the first time at UFC 35. Penn, who was 23 at the time, gave the champ a run for his money. However, in the end, Pulver retained the title via a majority decision. Several years later, after coaching opposite one another on The Ultimate Fighter, Pulver vs Penn 2 would take place in 2007. This time, the prodigy got the better of things, having managed to secure a rear naked choke in the second round. Number 2. Sarah Mcmahon. Former number 1 contender Sarah Mcmahon made Olympic history by becoming the first American woman to win a silver medal, a feat she accomplished at the 2004 Games in Athens. McMahon's elite wrestling helped make her a formidable mixed martial artist once she turned pro in 2011. From there, the Olympian defeated several notable fighters on her way to amassing a stellar 7-0 record. Her success paved the way for a showdown with another high-profile Olympian, then UFC Women's Bantamweight champion Rowdy Ronda Rousey. Prior to her MMA run, Rousey competed in judo in the 2008 Olympic Games, where she even captured a bronze medal. Given both fighters' grappling pedigrees, Rousey vs McMahon looked like an intriguing matchup on paper. However, the contest turned out to be a brief affair that was far from a grappling showcase. When the two squared off at UFC 170, Rousey managed to press her opponent against the cage and finish her with a brutal knee to the body. The champion defended her title and handed McMahon her first professional defeat. Number 1. Paulo Costa. Brazil's Paulo Costa is a UFC middleweight known for his impressive punching power. After competing on the 3rd season of The Ultimate Fighter Brazil, Costa would go on a remarkable run in his division. The heavy-handed contender won his first 5 fights in the UFC, which included wins over Johnny Hendricks, Uriah Hall and Yoel Romero. With a resume that included a 13-0 professional record, denying Costa a shot at UFC middleweight champion Israel Adesanya was impossible. And when Adesanya and Costa finally met at Fight Island UFC 253 in a highly anticipated bout, the middleweight strap was hanging in the balance. Unfortunately for Costa, he was thoroughly dominated throughout the fight and found himself on the receiving end of a 2nd round TKO. As always, if you guys enjoyed this video, then please be sure to let me know by leaving a like and subscribing to our channel. Apart from that, thanks so much for watching guys, and we'll see you in the next one.